"Whatever happens, don't open the red door." Those were the last words my sister ever said to me. I used to think she was joking. We both did. It was just an old house at the edge of Black Hollow, a forgotten town buried deep in the forests of northern Maine. The kind of place where fog lingers too long and the trees whisper when there's no wind. But now, as I sit here listening to the scratching on my bedroom wall again, I know she wasn't joking. She was warning me. When we first moved to Black Hollow, I was 17 and angry at the world. My mom had inherited the old Victorian house from a distant relative we barely knew, Great Aunt Marjorie. No one had visited her in years. She died alone in that house. At least, that's what the police report said. The house stood at the end of Briar Lane, its paint peeled and gray, its windows tall and narrow like watching eyes. A rusted iron fence circled the property, and behind it stretched acres of dense forest. The locals didn't welcome us. They stared. At the only grocery store in town, an old man grabbed my wrist when I mentioned our address. "You're in the Briar house," he whispered, breath smelling of peppermint and something rotten. "You don't belong there." I laughed it off. I wish I hadn't. The first night was quiet. Too quiet. The air inside the house felt thick, like it hadn't been disturbed in decades. Dust coated everything, and the wooden floors creaked with every step, even when we stood still. My older sister, Emily, was the first to find the red door. It was hidden at the end of the upstairs hallway behind a tattered velvet curtain. The hallway itself was strange, narrower than the others, colder. The wallpaper peeled in long strips like shedding skin. The door was painted a deep crimson. Not faded, not chipped, fresh. Why would someone repaint just this door? Emily muttered, brushing her fingers over the surface. I felt a chill run down my spine. "There's no knob," I said. She smiled, that mischievous smile she'd had since we were kids. Exactly. The door had no handle. No lock. Just a smooth red surface and a faint outline where it met the frame. Almost as if it didn't want to be opened. That night, I dreamed of it. I stood at the end of the hallway. The house was silent, but the red door was breathing. In and out. The wood expanded slightly with each inhale, contracted with each exhale. And then it began to whisper. Not words, just sounds. Wet, desperate sounds, like someone trying to speak with a mouth full of water. I woke up drenched in sweat. From the hallway, I heard a faint tapping. Tap, 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 3 times. It didn't take long for things to get worse. Emily started changing first. She became obsessed with the door. She'd spend hours standing in front of it, tracing its edges, pressing her ear against it. "It's hollow," she told me one afternoon, her voice distant. "There's something inside." "You mean behind it?" She looked at me slowly. "No," she said, "inside it." I stopped laughing after that. A week after we moved in, the animals began to gather. Every morning, we found dead birds on the front porch. Their necks twisted unnaturally, eyes wide open. No blood, no wounds, just broken. Mom thought it was stray cats. But I'd seen the forest at night. I'd seen the shadows between the trees shifting when nothing else moved. One night, I heard Emily talking. At first, I thought she was on the phone. But when I walked past her room, her door was slightly open, and the lights were off. She was sitting on her bed, staring at the wall, and whispering. "Yes," she murmured. "I understand." A long pause. "I won't tell him." My stomach tightened. "Tell who?" I asked, stepping inside. She jumped, eyes wide, then smiled too quickly. "Just talking to myself." But her eyes kept drifting to the hallway, to the red door. 3 days later, we found the first message. It was carved into the inside of the bathroom mirror. The letters etched deep, jagged and uneven. Promise. Mom accused us of pulling a prank. We both denied it. But that night, another word appeared. Promise. This time, on my bedroom wall. Carved into the paint. The scratching started after that. Every night at exactly 3:12 a.m. 3 slow drags across the wall beside my bed. I tried staying awake to catch it, but every time I'd wake up mid-scratch, frozen in terror, unable to move. Sleep paralysis, I told myself. Until I saw the marks. 3 deep grooves in the plaster. As if something with claws had tried to reach me from inside the wall. Emily stopped eating. Her skin grew pale, almost translucent. Dark circles formed under her eyes, but she never seemed tired. In fact, she seemed energized. Excited. "It's almost time," she told me one afternoon while we sat at the kitchen table. "For what?" She leaned closer. "For the promise." I felt my throat tighten. "What promise?" She stared at me, confused. "The one we made." "I didn't make any promise." Her smile faded. "Yes, you did." That night, I followed her. At 3:11 a.m., I heard her bedroom door creak open. I pretended to sleep until her footsteps passed. Then I slipped into the hallway. The air felt colder than ever. My breath fogged in front of me. Emily stood at the end of the hall, in front of the red door. The door was no longer smooth. It pulsed faintly, veins of darker crimson spreading across its surface like cracked marble. And for the first time, there was a handle. A small brass knob protruded from the center. Emily reached for it. "Don't," I whispered. She froze. Slowly, she turned her head toward me. Her eyes were black, completely black. "He's waiting," she said, her voice layered with another, deeper voice beneath it. My legs wouldn't move. "Emily," I begged, "please." She tilted her head. "You promised." The door began to knock from the inside. 3 slow thuds. Boom, boom, boom. The house shook with each impact. The walls groaned. The lights flickered. Emily grabbed the handle. I lunged forward and pulled her back just as the door swung open. The hallway filled with darkness. Not normal darkness. This was thick, heavy. It spilled out like smoke but moved with intention. And inside it, something breathed. Long, wet inhalations. A shape began to form. Tall, twisted, limbs too long, bending at impossible angles. Emily screamed. Not in fear, in joy. "It's here," she cried. The darkness lashed forward, wrapping around her arm. Her skin began to crack where it touched, black veins spreading up her shoulder. I grabbed her waist and pulled with everything I had. The thing inside the doorway shrieked, a sound like metal tearing apart. And then the door slammed shut. The hallway returned to normal. Emily collapsed in my arms. Her eyes were blue again. The handle was gone. The door was smooth and red once more. We told Mom everything. She didn't believe us, until she saw Emily's arm. The veins remained, thin black lines beneath her skin, pulsing faintly. That night, Mom called the local church. But the priest refused to come. "There's no saving that house," he said before hanging up. 2 days later, Mom went missing. Her car was still in the driveway. Her purse sat on the kitchen counter. The police searched the forest for hours. They found nothing, except one thing. 3 deep claw marks carved into the trunk of an oak tree behind our house. That night, the red door appeared in my dream again. This time, it was open. And inside stood my mother. Her face pale, eyes hollow. "Why didn't you keep your promise?" she asked. Something moved behind her in the darkness. Tall, waiting. I woke, up to the sound of knocking. Not from the hallway, from inside my closet. Boom, boom, boom. 3 times. Slow, deliberate, and then a whisper. "Open." I stared at the closet door as the handle slowly began to turn on its own. And from the hallway, I heard Emily laughing. The closet door opened by itself. Not fast, not violently, just a slow, deliberate creak, as if whatever was inside wanted me to watch. I couldn't move. My body felt nailed to the mattress. The room was colder than the hallway had ever been. Frost crawled along the edges of my window. The darkness inside the closet wasn't empty. It was layered, shifting, breathing, and then I saw her. "Mom." My voice cracked. She stood inside the closet like it was a doorway to somewhere else. Her nightgown hung loose from her thin frame, and her hair covered most of her face. But I could see her mouth. Smiling. Too wide. "You broke it," she whispered. Her voice echoed like she was speaking from the bottom of a well. "I didn't promise anything," I shouted. Behind her, something unfolded itself from the shadows. Tall, bent, its head nearly scraping the ceiling of my closet. Its arms were too long, fingers dragging across the floorboards with a slow, scraping sound. 3 claws, each one leaving thin lines in the wood. My heart stopped. It leaned closer to her. And then it leaned closer to me. "You both did," it breathed. The voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It vibrated inside my skull. My closet door slammed shut. I shot upright, gasping. Morning light poured through my window. The closet was closed, normal, but when I stepped closer, I saw them. 3 claw marks carved deep into the wood. Emily was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table, smiling. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked before I could speak. My blood ran cold. "Where's Mom?" Emily tilted her head slightly. "She kept her promise." "What promise?" I demanded. Emily's smile faded. "The one we made when we were kids." "You don't remember." I didn't, but something in my stomach twisted like maybe I should. When I was 8 and Emily was 12, we used to play in the woods behind our old house in Ohio. There had been a tree, an enormous oak with a hollow center. We called it the wishing tree. We dared each other to crawl inside it. I remember feeling scared. I remember something inside whispering. But the rest, it was blank, like someone had cut the memory out with scissors. That afternoon, I searched through old boxes in the attic. Great Aunt Marjorie's things were still there. Journals, yellowed letters, old photographs. In one photo, she stood in front of this very house. Behind her, the red door, but it wasn't inside, it was outside, standing alone in the forest behind the house. No walls, no frame, just a red door in the middle of the trees. My hands started shaking. I flipped the photo over. On the back, written in faded ink, "The promise must be fed." That night, Emily disappeared. Her bedroom window was open. The curtains swayed gently in the wind, and carved into her bedroom wall were the words, "It's his turn." I ran into the forest without thinking. The trees seemed closer together than before. The air felt thick, suffocating. Branches clawed at my arms as I pushed through. And then I saw it. The red door, standing alone among the trees. Just like in the photograph. It looked freshly painted, wet, dripping. The brass handle gleamed under the moonlight. And I heard her, "Help me," Emily's voice. From the other side, I ran to the door and grabbed the handle. It was warm, pulsing. "Emily," I shouted, "move away. Don't open it." She screamed suddenly. Her voice changed mid-sentence, stretching, distorting. "Open it," another voice layered beneath hers. I stepped back. The door began to shake. The trees around me groaned as if bending toward it. And then it spoke. "You promised." The forest went silent. Every insect, every leaf, still. "What promise?" I shouted into the dark. The door slowly creaked open by itself. Inside wasn't a room. It was the hollow of a tree. The wishing tree, but darker, rotten. I saw 2 small figures standing in front of it. 2 children, me, and Emily, younger, terrified. I watched as little Emily grabbed my hand. "Let's make a deal," she whispered to something inside the hollow. A long, thin shape shifted in the darkness. "If you protect us," she said, "we promise to come back." My chest tightened. Little me shook my head. "No," but Emily squeezed my hand harder. "We promise," she repeated. The thing inside the tree reached out. 3 claws. It sliced across our palms. Blood dripped onto the roots. The memory crashed into me like ice water. We had been lost in the woods that day. It had gotten dark. Something had chased us. Something worse. The hollow tree had offered safety. But safety always has a price. The vision vanished. I was standing alone in front of the red door again. Except now, something stepped out, tall. Its skin stretched tight over long bones. Its joints bent wrong. Its face had no eyes. Just a wide mouth filled with splinter-like teeth. And 3 long claws scraping against each other. Behind it, I saw Emily. Suspended in darkness, unconscious. "You came back," it whispered. "I didn't mean it," I said, backing away. Its head tilted. "A promise does not require meaning." The forest floor began to sink beneath my feet. Roots wrapped around my ankles. "It is your turn," it said softly. "To feed the promise." I screamed as the roots dragged me closer to the open doorway. Inside, I could see others. Shadows, shapes, people, trapped, watching, waiting. The creature extended one claw toward my chest. And then, a gunshot echoed through the trees. The creature recoiled with a screech that split the air. The roots loosened just enough for me to tear free. A second gunshot rang out. The forest flickered. The red door trembled violently. I turned to see who had fired. An old man stood at the edge of the trees. The same man from the grocery store. He lowered the rifle slowly. You finally remembered, he said. The creature hissed, retreating halfway into the doorway. This isn't over, it whispered. The red door slammed shut. And vanished. The forest returned to normal. Silent. Empty. Emily collapsed onto the ground beside me. The old man approached carefully. You can't run from a forest bargain, he said. But you can break it. How? I asked, cradling Emily. He looked at the spot where the door had stood. You have to stop feeding it. A cold realization settled in my chest. It feeds on us. He nodded. On guilt. On fear. On broken promises. Emily stirred weakly. It wants one of us, she whispered. The old man's expression darkened. No, he said quietly. It wants both. Somewhere deep in the forest. 3 slow knocks echoed through the trees. Boom, boom, boom. And far in the distance, a red shape flickered between the trunks. Watching, waiting. The knocking didn't stop. Boom, boom, boom. It rolled through the forest like distant thunder, vibrating in my ribs. The old man grabbed my shoulder. We don't have much time, he said. When it realizes you remember the bargain, it will stop playing with you. Emily leaned against me, pale but conscious. The black veins in her arm pulsed faintly under her skin. It's stronger now, she whispered. It's been feeding. On what? I asked, though I already knew. She looked toward the house. On Mom. On the birds. On the fear it planted in us like seeds. We brought Emily back inside before dawn. The old man introduced himself as Walter Hale. He'd grown up in Black Hollow. He'd seen the door before. It doesn't belong to the house, Walter explained, pacing the living room. The house was built around it. Your aunt thought walls could contain it. They couldn't, I muttered. No, he looked at me sharply. But blood can. I stiffened. What does that mean? He studied the faint scar across my palm, the one I'd never questioned before. Emily had the same scar. You sealed the promise with blood, he said. To break it, you must return what was given. My stomach dropped. You mean we have to die? Emily's hand tightened around mine. Walter shook his head slowly. No, it wants sacrifice. That's how it keeps the bargain alive. But bargains can be undone if both sides refuse. It's not going to just let us refuse, Emily said quietly. As if summoned by her words, the lights flickered. The hallway grew cold, and at the far end, the red door appeared again. Inside the house, exactly where it had always been. Fresh paint gleaming, handle shining, waiting. The knocking came from the other side. Slow, patient. Boom, boom, boom. Walter raised his rifle, but his hands trembled. Guns only slow it, he said. You need to confront it. Together. Emily stood up despite her shaking legs. We made the promise together, she said. We end it together. The door creaked open an inch. Darkness spilled out across the floor like ink. And then Mom stepped through. She looked normal, almost. Her eyes were her own again. Please, she said softly. It's cold. I felt myself stepping forward before I realized it. Emily grabbed me. That's not her. Mom's face twitched. Her mouth widened too far. It hurts in here, she whimpered. Behind her, the tall creature unfolded itself into view. Its eyeless face turned toward us. You cannot break what was given, it rasped. We were children, I shouted. We didn't understand. It understood. Its claw pointed at Emily. She asked. Emily flinched. Yes, she said, voice shaking. I did. I wanted protection. Images flashed in my mind. Being chased through the woods that day by something feral and human at the same time. A man from town who'd followed us too far. The tree had hidden us. The thing inside had kept us safe. At a cost deferred, it kept us safe, Emily whispered. It always keeps its word, the creature said. And you didn't, Walter muttered behind us. The creature's head snapped toward him with a violent crack. We fulfilled our promise, I yelled quickly. We came back. You fed the fear, it hissed. But the bargain demands balance. The darkness surged forward, wrapping around Mom's form. Her body began to distort, stretching as if pulled by invisible hooks. No, Emily screamed. The creature extended a claw toward me. One life, it said. Or both. The walls began to rot around the doorway. The house groaned like it was being swallowed from the inside. I looked at Emily. We didn't need words. If it wanted fear, We would give it none. I stepped forward. So that's it, I said, forcing my voice steady. You're nothing but a collector. Feeding on scared kids. The creature paused. You hide in trees, in closets, behind doors, I continued. You need permission. You need promises. You can't take anything without it being offered. The darkness around it flickered. Emily caught on. You're weak, she said, louder now. That's why you trick children. The creature shrieked, the sound shattering a window. I protect, it roared. You trap, I shot back. The black veins in Emily's arm began to glow faintly. Walter shouted, don't let it control the story. The bargain survives because you believe it does. The creature lunged, but this time, I didn't step back. I take it back, I said firmly. Emily squeezed my hand. We both do. The creature froze, mid-motion. You cannot. We revoke the promise, Emily declared, voice echoing unnaturally through the hallway. We don't want your protection. We don't accept your bargain. We don't fear you. The house went silent. The darkness trembled violently. You invited me, it hissed, weaker now. And now we're uninviting you, I said. The red paint on the door began to peel rapidly, revealing old, splintered wood beneath. Cracks spread across its surface. The creature screamed as if the sound itself was tearing it apart. You are mine, it shrieked. No, Emily said softly. We were scared children. That's all you ever had. The black veins on her arm burned bright, then shattered like glass. The claw marks on my palm reopened briefly, bleeding onto the floor. The blood didn't sink into roots this time. It evaporated. The red door split straight down the middle. Light poured through the crack. Not warm light, but empty light. The creature thrashed, its limbs bending impossibly as it was pulled backward into the widening fracture. Its voice fractured with it. This is not. The door exploded into splinters. The darkness imploded. And then, silence. The hallway was normal again. No red door, no rot, no shadows moving where they shouldn't. Mom collapsed onto the floor, unconscious but breathing. Walter lowered his rifle slowly. It's done, he said. But he didn't sound certain. Weeks passed. Mom recovered with no memory of what happened. The black veins vanished from Emily's arm. The claw marks on my wall faded. We left Black Hollow 2 months later. The house was torn down. Burned. Nothing remained but ash. Walter stayed behind. Some doors, he told me before we left, don't need walls. I almost believed it was over. Until last night, I woke up at exactly 3:12 a.m. No scratching, no knocking, just silence. I rolled over to check the time. And that's when I saw it. On my bedroom wall. Faint, barely visible, but there. A thin red outline. The shape of a door. And from somewhere deep inside the wall. 3 soft knocks. Boom, boom, boom.